Warm greetings. Welcome to Grammar of a Lake, a podcast with the goal to understand urban lakes of India. I'm Akash, a curious youth who has often wondered about the lakes around us. In this series, I'll be speaking with Dr. Mansee Bal Bhargava, who has spent over 3 decades learning, loving, and living the urban lakes. In the conversation, we shall explore and experience our understanding about lakes, since they are very much part of our everyday life, whether we realize it or not. Together, we shall co-learn and co-create how we make knowledge, appreciate, and celebrate the lakes that quietly shape our cities and our communities. So, without further ado, let's begin the conversation. Today's topic is a tongue twister for me. Uh, in short, we're talking about birds and fishes. Dr. Mansi, welcome to the podcast. Would you like to introduce the topic to us?
Yes, thank you so much, Akash. Something which we must flow and fly today with the topic very close to my heart, and I suppose with everyone. So, we are talking about today the life of fishes and the life of birds. And to my mind, the first thing comes is who owns or whose first right is to the lakes. And I suppose you will also recall from your childhood, whenever we drew water bodies, there will be fishes, there will be birds on the banks, or swimming on the water. So these are two very important, I will say, branch of studies which should go hand in hand with study of lakes. So first is ichthyology, which is study of fish, and second is ornithology. And let me tell you, in many of the lake projects and development plans, these two words do not even find a place. But it is important to talk about them because I personally believe they have the first right to the water body, even before us. So, ornithology is the study of birds. When we talk about ichthyology, we are already talking about bony fishes, cartilaginous fishes, we are talking about jawless fishes, and we can go on and on from its taxonomy, from its semantics, from its anatomy, from its physiology, their behavior, their evolution, and it applies to both of them. Even when we are talking about aviary or avifauna as we call it, it is also called etymology. We need to understand what relation do they carry with lakes. As I said, it's their first right. You see, when we want to talk about a lake, talking without fishes and birds is incomplete conversation, especially if we are talking about the native fishes and the native birds who are using that water body. And as we discussed about the birth of the lake, you will be also very surprised to know the nature or the typology of fishes will depend on the birth of lake as well. The type of fishes will decide the type of birds which are going to come to that water body. So here we are talking about life as we discussed in the birth, that a lake is alive when it has a biological ability to produce. And when we're talking about fishes, it is the first life, I will say, in the water body. Of course, there are other microbial organisms, there are algae. We will talk about the plant being. Today, we are talking about the animal beings. So, the branch of ichthyology and ornithology is very interesting to learn about. And I'm so happy that you are covering this aspect as well, which we fondly call as fishes and birds. I will stop here and take your next question.
Well, that's a very difficult name for fishes and birds, uh, but I understand it's. I think it's scientific terminology, right?
Yes, could you please say it so that I know, because you know what has happened. Many places I have gone in the classrooms to conduct water workshops or lake workshops, people find it difficulty also to pronounce it.
Right. So since I've read this before, I think I may be able to pronounce it better. So it's lake ethology and ornithology.
Yes,
That's right. That's the right way. So when I first heard it, I was stumbling upon the words. It was a tongue
yes.
twister for me. All right. So you did answer where do fishes and birds fit in the lake and the relationship they have. How do we really misunderstand presence of fishes and birds? That is lake ethology and ornithology today.
Yes, the misunderstanding comes from our understanding of water body. Because when we imagine a water body in a policy and practice terms, not in our childhood terms, I wish we all go back to our childhood memories and world view of life, because that was very naive and innocent and very truthful. But today, when we talk about lakes, fishes and birds are not in the priority of its development, of lake development and restoration. I say this with a lot of observation over the 3 decades, because in the documents on lake development or restoration, whatever word or concept they will use, and I will be very happy to take these two concepts as well. The documents or the understanding of lake development restoration do not tell us what kind of fishes they will have, how much they will have. So, because every lake has a capacity of fish population, fish typology, the type of water, the type of soil, the type of aquatic flora will also decide the type of ichthyology it will carry. And we miss that part because we are looking at water body as water body without life, you know. And the fact that fishes can grow by themselves in the water body is also now fading away in urban lake systems. Many of the lake developments, and so today let me just focus more on the fish part, because I think they require more respect and space in the conversation. So I would love to take the ornithology in our next conversation and go deeper into it. So in when we are making these documents, we are forgetting the fact that every lake has a capacity, to house x amount of water, and that x amount of water add to the water quality and aquatic vegetation will decide the type of fishes. So nowadays, when we are doing lake development and lake restoration, we already assume that there will be some fish farm in the remote areas, and we will get the fish eggs and pour in the lake, and we will start considering it as a living lake. I hold my reservations on this, because it straight away tells me that there is complete misunderstanding and disconnect with the water body, with the very idea of lake. We also do not take into considerations that actually dislocation of fishes. It is also studied. Turtle, I know for very well studied. Fishes also are very social beings. They feel loneliness. They feel, migrants. They feel lost or loss of home. They also, because changing of geography, changing of setting, I mean, I know that they are also getting insomnia, because in the lakes there are lights all the time. They are unable to sleep because they are so used to of sleeping by the sun and moon lights and so on and so forth. So if the fishes are healthy in a water body, we know that the lake is healthy. So fishes actually are the major parameters to tell us what is the state of the water body there. You may be recalling river Indrayani. Just two few days ago, all the fishes died in that river, and they were floating on the banks or on the surface in Pune, by the way. And this is not something which is happening first time. Over last 3 decades, I've heard it so many times, and during my PhD also I heard it in Mansagar Lake in Jaipur, that all the fishes were floating on the top and dead, and the place smelling like anything. It has happened in Ahmedabad, in my city. Uh, so it is something where we need to be worried about, not only because of the fish death, but we need to understand the water is highly polluted, and that the fishes dying are often the fishes which were migrated there, which were brought there. There is also another problem which comes into here. When you bring migrated fishes to the lake where there are native fishes, or people, the domicile fishes, they also face threatened, their population can reduce, and a classic example is catfish. In the distant past, we brought catfish to our ponds when we had famine to feed people with fishes. And now catfish is kind of invasive species to all the lakes and ponds, which does not allow other fishes to grow. So it's, fry again, every lake has a capacity, and we have to really know that fact. But not discussing it in lake development is something where I have first reservation and problem. Second is what kind of fishes, how many fishes, how much. You go to any lake pond. I remember last I personally experienced was a pond in Gujarat, and a tank in Varanasi full of turtles. So many turtles that even turtles themselves between each other could not survive, and these turtles were invasive turtles. So so it's like a competition, like us as a highly populated country, we are facing so much problem, to the extent that when many people die, our politicians are not even condoling about the death, because we are so many in number. Likewise, more fish population is a problem, and less fish population itself is a problem. But then when you are putting fish from outside, it's a completely different kind of problem. And this is all because we are deducting the idea of having native fishes in the pond or the lake. Do we have native fish in every pond or lake? That itself needs an inventory and investigation. I will stop here.
So that was interesting. We talked about fishes having a social understanding and they experiencing the loss of their home, change of environment, and loneliness. This is new to me. Uh, the second we talked about was basically indigenous fishes and the forced migration. They are not coming, but we are
Hmm.
putting them inside.
Hmm.
Uh, and if I recall, I have not seen fishes in a lot of lakes that I've come across recently.
Hmm.
Of course, when I was young, I was taken to many places, and that's when I even recalled birds. I don't see birds at all around lakes because whatever reasons. But the last time I think I visited Chilika Lake when I was young,
Hmm.
it was, that's when I saw the birds and the fishes both.
Hmm.
Uh, and then there is also competition. Less fishes is problem, and more fishes because of competition
Yes.
is problem. That's, I think it's pretty much like the way you summed up the population. If our population is more, we have competition, and that's happening again. That's interesting.
And we don't care, then value of life is less. Likewise, the value of fishes also go less. I mean,
Those
they are
guys.
competing with each other.
So why did those fishes die? Because the water was polluted, and why did they die after? Why did not die, right away? Why did it take?
See, death of fishes are mostly because of sudden invasion of some pollutant. Most of the time, you know, that's like a accidental death, we can call it, or murder for that matter. But there are also situations where as I was telling, that the overpopulation can also kill fishes. Then when we put fishes which are carnivore, for example, catfish, they have a tendency that they grow much faster than other native fishes, and at the same time, they being carnivore, they are also eating up all the native fishes. So in that way, the fish breeding of the native species is heavily challenged the moment we put migrant species. I mean, I can tell you from even a big place like Warden Sea, where I'm sitting right now, there's a serious problem of invasion of oysters, because at some point in time, oysters were brought from Asia into the sea, and now it is a dominant species. you know so in India also, in most lakes and ponds, because earlier it was seen as, okay, fish will be there, so let us have fish, but what kind of fish also matters. See, one of the major role of fish is to do aeration of the water body, so the dissolved oxygen, it's the main facilitator of having oxygen in the water body. because it's moving. Nowadays, when you see water lake development and lake restoration, you see these fancy fountains. And you will find these catfishes a lot when you go around the water body, especially when you put the fish feed in terms of, flour, wheat flour, dough, which I highly recommend
People
people
put,
do it.
yeah, breadcrumbs. They put
We
bread.
must alarm it on this space in this podcast that please do not feed the fishes and the birds. For that matter, cows, dogs, any animals, do not feed them with processed food. Anyway, I come back to the point that the invasive species and the native species competition is growing heavily because we are designing for development and restoration. We have the control of putting the fish there, and the fact that we are dredging and desilting the lake left, right, and center, which is also a topic I would like to discuss in future. It is changing the geology of the lake, the limnology of the lake, which is another topic which we have to cover, by the way, which means it is changing the nature of the water system, which also makes native species struggle to survive. So there are these factors which really must be taken into consideration when we are talking about reviving a lake or restoring a lake. In development, definitely they don't find place. That's my problem with lake development all the time. I have not developed a single lake in my life, and I take pride in that because in the development discourse, fishes do not appear. Birds do not appear because we think that birds will come by themselves. No, sorry, they don't come by themselves. They will come depending on the kind of fishes. They will come with the depth of the water body will decide the size of the fishes also, not only the typology of the fish. Deeper the water body, lesser the ecosystem, bigger the fishes, lesser birds. So we really need to understand these very simple phenomena. I remember 20 years ago also, I used to go to school and ask people who don't even know the difference between fish as a plural and fishes as a plural. So we should also highlight that here that one type of fish typology, many in number still remain fish. Different typology of fish or different varieties of fish becomes fishes. This is such a simple thing. So when you do not have the word fish or bird in your lake project, there is something which we need to now stress upon. Otherwise, we are converting our lakes into pools where we will put some fishes, they will die, we will remove them, we will put another set of fishes. That's a serious problem. Because then we are also see, we are not only killing, or the fishes which are dying are not only migrant fishes. If the death has come to the water body, the first sign is the fish death, by the way. you know it's like it happens very frequently in some lakes depending on the kind of pollutants which are thrown into the water body. Today in India, we have most of the urban lakes which are filled with sewage water. Not even 50% of the sewage water is treated. So how do we expect then native fishes to flourish? Then we have this hardy variety or the invasive species catfishes which are put there, and on paper then it becomes that fish has life because there are fishes. Sorry, lake has life because there are fishes. I think we need to grow past this kind of uh, hyped, narrative or a kind of misunderstanding. It has both ignorance and arrogance in my point of view, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, that's
It's
certainly true. I did not really realize fish is many fishes, or many number of fishes, but
same
fish
type of
is,
fish.
yeah, the variety changes. Yeah, same type of many fishes is fish, and different variety means fishes. So that's,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
Yes.
yes,
So fish is a singular and plural if it is one type.
right, correct. All right, that's a very scientific way to go about it. All right, so let me ask my third question.
Hmm.
what challenges come in the way of acknowledging lake ethology and ornithology, or the relationship between lake and fishes? And I think we're
Hmm.
covering the birds next week,
Yes,
sticking to the ethology part.
yes. I think the challenge is coming because, see, the study of ichthyology and ornithology stays with zoology, biology branch. And when you look at the kind of officials or consultancies or expertise involved in lake restoration and development, they do not cover these people. You know, we miss hydrologists in lake development projects. We miss biologists, geologists, botanists in lake development projects. So their absence, so absence of a profession or expertise already becomes absence of the species, because please understand, they are the voice in the room. If they're not in the room, who is going to speak on behalf of fishes? You know what I mean? Then, if I am an architect and planner and designer, or you are an engineer, we have not learned about ichthyology and ornithology. Then I am definitely going to talk about land, measurements, pavements, water, not water as an ecosystem, but water as an infrastructure. I'm going to talk about beautification, aesthetics, anything and everything but fishes. you know
Right.
we are also not looking for fish population in lake, we are looking for fishes population in the lake. Right now, with the invasion of catfishes, because catfish also has many kind of varieties, it is almost like a fish population, not fishes, because they are eating up all the small these variety of fishes. I know some authorities are also putting other species of fishes in the water bodies when they want to revive, and now it has become a regular habit by local authorities with the help of fisheries department, that fishes are bred somewhere. I know in Ahmedabad, fishes come from Odisha and Bengal for the water bodies, right? So you bring the eggs, you breed them here, and then you put them in the water body. So this is kind of completely different way of dealing with the water body or a lake, as in you build the water body. So we have made the lake because of our expertise, we know to do this. Now we have to put, it's like a tick mark thing, so now we need some fishes, let's go and get these fishes and put them here. And then it has nothing to do with native fish or migrant fish or catfish.
Hmm.
So we see, the moment we are talking about ecosystem or life of the lake, we need to get into the details of it then, you know and that detail is lost because now in urban lakes we are developing most of the lakes considering that they will be lake as wastewater, and they will be lake as year round water bodies, because this is where we also need to understand, most of the lakes in tropical landscape like India, they were not supposed to have water year round, but because we have not solved our problem of wastewater, now most of the lakes are going to be filled with water, or we aspire to have it filled with water, because we have changed our definition of lakes as a water body which is filled with water. We forgot the comma part of it, or the letter part or suffix of it, that these water bodies are supposed to dry in some time when these fish eggs are actually lying on the bed of the lake, which will thrive when monsoon comes. Because we are now dependent on, it's like a genetically modified food that we consume, likewise we are doing it for. So A, it is not discussed, and B, it is actually considered as something which will be done after the lake development or restoration has been done. So fishes are not part of the lake development and restoration process, they are afterwards. Like you make the cake and then you put some cherry on the top.
Correct. Okay.
And there's a problem, because in cake you can do deal with it, because you are putting candles, you are putting your name, it looks good. We don't have fishes in the lakes to look good, we need fishes in the lakes for lakes to be living.
Right.
So the moment you put fish eggs, it's almost like cherry on the lake, on the cake.
So when you say quality of a lake is defined by the quality of fishes,
Yes,
then fishes are not supposed to be afterthought. They are supposed to be
it has to be
the
part of the
backbone
process.
of uh, the the lakes.
Absolutely. I mean, we can put it in another way actually, which will be more easy for us to understand. The health of the lake is defined by the typology of fishes you have.
Typology fishes. Okay.
So we are not talking about one fish population. We are talking about typologies, different types, and we are also talking about the size of the fishes. See,
Right.
we have to aspire for shallow water bodies. We should not look for deeper water bodies in urban areas. Shallower the water body, richer the aquatic life, whether it is aquatic flora or fauna. So fishes fall in the fauna category, and then you will have smaller fishes. Smaller the fishes, larger the number of fishes, and more, and they are richer ecosystem. They are aerating more, they are moving around. So these are very simple things which we need to take into consideration when we are doing lake development and restoration.
Right. So I know that we have a field known as landscape architecture. Is
Hmm.
this taught in landscape architecture? Is this part of
No,
landscape architecture? First of
no,
all, it's not.
it's not taught.
Okay.
That is also
It's
the
not.
irony.
But should it be part of landscape architecture? It's water.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It should be part. See, if I have been vouching for at least water as a course in architecture and planning. The moment you have one semester water as a course, you cannot escape not reading about ichthyology and ornithology.
Right.
See, most fundamental question we need to ask in case of lake, because we're talking about lake, whose lake is this? Today we are developing and restoring lakes for our consumption. And I have a
Right.
question on that itself. The
It should be
first right
about the boat,
lakes
the
are for the
fishes.
fishes.
Fishes. Right. Understood.
I think
All right.
we can take this discussion endlessly, but I think that simplest way is to look at who is the main owner or right to the lake
Hmm. Right.
being, not
So,
human beings for sure. We are land animals, not what we should not take
not
it
right.
for granted.
All right. Let's digress, and I'll talk about my last question.
Hmm.
How can we improve our understanding of lake ethology, and what would be a solution to course correct?
Yes, very simple. I will say because everybody cannot be educated about everybody. But if we can bring a change in the way we do lake restoration and development, at least have geologists. You know, there is possibility of doing fish sensors, possibility of doing bird sensors. Have ichthyologists. There are specialists. Ichthyologists are now specialists. Ornithologists are now specialists. So have them. As an architect planner, as an engineer, I don't have to be specialist. I have to have the enlightenment and accommodation for others experts. You know, I think the very nature why we are discussing is to open up this discussion and be more inclusive about other expertise. You know, lake development does not belong to engineers, architects, and planners and politicians. The first expertise to lake are geologists, biologists, hydrologists, limnologists, and they are out of the scene at all. They are not there. So I will not say that we should give jnana to everyone about ichthyology and ornithology. I'll say just get them on board. But it is like a chicken and egg. If we don't know their importance, how will we get them? You know.
Right.
So that is where I feel we need to educate the most educated and the most powerful people about these things. If in a boardroom an ichthyologist is sitting, definitely there will be a voice of the fish in that room and discussion. Something will come out of it. I think I will keep it that simple and short.
Right. We need to get
I
the
should
right
not claim to
species.
be ichthyologist for sure. But
So
if I
we
get
need
a
to.
project, yeah, but if I get a project, I should be open about inviting. So it's
Hmm.
about partnership and collaborations,
Right.
and
Correct.
not taking everything on my own.
On our own. Right. All right. So the solution is to get the right consultant into the process, which will help improve the overall the lake development or redevelopment, as we would say.
Yes. You know what? Even fisheries department is not part of the lake development and restoration projects. Forget about
Okay.
experts from outside. Even within the government system, they are not part of the lake development and restoration process. They are invited later to put the fishes, which is where we want to change the process, and we say they should be part of the invitation and discussion right from the day one you decide to restore a lake. And I think rest of the things can be course corrected by itself. The moment you have the expertise, you have the voice.
Right.
You know.
Right. All right. So that brings us to the end of the session. To our viewers, in case there are questions or comments, we are happy to hear from you. You may find Grammar for Lake session at our YouTube channel V for Water and on our website www.w4w.in, along with many conversations dedicated to water, since we believe water conversations are way towards water conservation. Stay tuned and see you again on Saturday's Sailing. We will have the second part uh, coming week. Take care and thank you for listening. Dr. Mansi, hope to see you again next week and thank you
Yes.
for your time.
Thank you so much, Akash. We talk about the birds and ornithology next week. See you.